The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, X-Zone TV, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Before we get to our first guest tonight, I have a couple of short things I'd like to bring you up to speed on here in the X-Zone Nation. Number one, the X Chronicles newspaper is now available with the compliments of eformatpub.com at www.x-chronicles.com. That's our new e-format format. It's downloadable to your iPod, your iPad, Kindle, any handheld device. The X Chronicles newspaper now works as well as online. You can download it, whatever the case may be. There's no excuse for anyone on this great big planet of ours not to read the X Chronicles newspaper. Once again, thanks to the good people at eformatpub.com. This weekend, I've been very busy working with the people talking about dolphins. I don't know if you people have seen a movie. It's entitled The Cove. Here's the gist of it. Every year, I'm talking every year, over 23,000 dolphins are slaughtered in Japan. Now, I'd like you, the members of the worldwide X-Zone Nation, to help us bring an end to this needless atrocity by visiting www.xzonenews.com/thecove.htm and help us get this news out to whoever you can, including your government officials. This is a global issue and must be addressed before it's too late, so please send this link, www.xzonenews.com/thecove.htm, to as many people as you can. There's a couple of videos there. There's a story there. There are some very graphic photos as well of the dolphin slaughter. Just imagine, 23,000, over 23,000 dolphins slaughtered every year. Go to that site, read the story, get involved. X-Zone Nation, when we come back from this 2-minute commercial break, my guest to this hour is a gentleman that we've had the pleasure of having on the show before. His name is Dan Millman. And Dan is the author of 17 books read by millions of people in 29 languages. He teaches worldwide, speaking to men and women from all walks of life, including leaders in the field of health, psychology, education, business, politics, sports, entertainment, and the arts. Dan Millman lives in Northern California, and his website is www.peacefulwarrior.com. We're going to be speaking to Dan about his new book, The 4 Purposes of Life, Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Once again, the X Chronicles newspaper is now free worldwide thanks to our good friends at eformatpub.com at www.xchronicles/newspaper.com. And of course, please go to xzonenews.com/thecove.htm and get involved, and let's stop this massive slaughter of dolphins in Japan. By the way, the Japanese government sanctions it, so there you go. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with Dan Millman as the X Zone for today, April the 25th in the year 2011 starts. Whatever you do, don't go away, because you know what? We're going to be right back. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Where is the moment we need it the most? You kick up the leaves and the magic is lost. Tell me your blue skies fade to gray. Tell me your passion's gone away. And I don't need no carrying on. You stand in the line just to hit a new low. You're faking a smile with the coffee to go. Tell me your life's been way offline. You fall into pieces every time. And I don't need no carrying on. 'Cause you had a bad day. You take it one down. You sing a sad song just to
And welcome back, everyone. Dan Millman is my special guest. We're going to be talking to Dan about his new book called The 4 Purposes of Life, Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World. And in his first work of New Teachings in 12 years, beloved teacher Dan Millman faces life's fundamental question: why am I here? What am I meant to do? Dan understands the primary human need for direction and purpose. And joining me now from his home in Northern California is our good friend Dan Millman. And Dan, welcome back to the X Zone. It's great having you back home.
Oh, it's nice to visit with you, Rob. And I thought, people who know my work might be thinking, oh, this will be fun, segment with Dan. But those who don't know my work might even be wondering, wait a minute, what does he call this thing, the peaceful warrior? Well,
Yeah.
how can he be peaceful and a warrior? So I thought I'd provide a context before we get into my new book, which is, we're all peaceful warriors in training in the sense that we're all looking, to live with a more peaceful heart. But there are times in life, every one of us needs a warrior spirit, because it takes courage to live in the world. We all
Sure does.
discover that. And it's not about fighting. It's about standing up inside of ourselves. So this idea of balance, male or female, it's a peaceful heart, warrior spirit, living with our head in the clouds, feet on the ground. It's a way I came to teach, an approach to living after a number of decades of searching on my own, shifting from the world of sport, where I was a world champion years ago and a coach at Stanford University in gymnastics, shifting from how to develop talent for sport into how to develop more talent for living. What qualities can we develop? And again, I went on my own long search, worked with various mentors, including the old man I called Socrates, who was played by Nick Nolte
Oh, wow.
in the movie version of the book.
Yeah.
And there we are. So this, I've written, I think it's, I stopped counting around 14 or 15, but about 15 books over the last 30 years. And this new one's special because it's the first time I've been able to put the pieces of the puzzle together this just was the time I was ready to do that.
I've got a bit of news for you here, pal. It's 17 books.
Oh, well, whatever it says. Yeah. They count in different ways depending on editions, but actually I think it's 15 actually fresh original books That's been over the years. And, I've never written a book just to have another book out. In fact, after I wrote Way of the Peaceful Warrior, my best-known book, I didn't write another book for 10 years because I felt I had nothing fresh to say, which I hope is sort of refreshing. And I waited until some new information that was just really excited me, and every book has to justify itself. And this one, I think, is extremely timing. The subtitle is Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World.
Since you and I last talked, the world seems to be changing on a much faster scale. It seems that time is just zipping by, Dan, and we look at what's happening in the Middle East. We look at what's happening in Afghanistan. We look at what's happening with natural disasters in Japan, and we had the major oil spill in the Gulf last year. How do people keep up with what's going on, and how do you, as a peaceful warrior, help people in these situations?
Well, first of all, maybe this will be helpful to some. Because all I can do is offer reminders of what people already know at deeper levels, but we tend to forget and express them in a certain way. So here's an example. What's going on depends, there are really two things going on. One is what is going on in reality in our own lives, in our circle of influence. What's going on in our family, what's going on within 50 or 100 feet of ourselves, what's going on inside of our senses, our eyes, our ears. That's one kind, a simpler kind of life going on. The birds are singing, or maybe it's raining outside, pattering on the roof. You and I are talking right now. Someone's listening to the show. Those things are going on. But there's a whole other realm, which is the realm of media, the realm of what's going on all over the world. And, this is so impactful in most people. People are going around today saying, oh, it's such a violent world. We're reading about all these wars and tribalism and militias. And you know what? This is the most peaceful time in history. Objectively, if we look at the number of people being killed, we're not talking about a Holocaust going on right now. We're not talking about Pol Pot, 30 million or maybe 50 million killed under Stalin. The Huns and the Goths aren't riding through town. So actually, but the fact is, because of the media, we hear, and by the way, I'm not blaming the media, but this is our means of communication. We hear about all the murders, all the deaths, all the inhumanities and the tragedies, because, when our body, each of us listening right now, people listening, if your body feels good, you don't notice it. If something hurts, let's say your knee is sore, that's where your attention goes.
Yeah.
So the newspapers, the radio, they don't point out the millions of things that are going on beautifully and just smoothly. They point out this is a problem arising today, and there's nothing wrong with that. People make the media into a villain. It's not. It's just that's how it functions. It tells us the sore points and points them out. Drama, like in theater, like in anything, drama is about conflict. So this is how it works. There was a woman when 9/11 happened. She could see one of the trade towers go down with her own eyes. She was standing on her balcony. She couldn't believe what she was watching, so she ran inside and turned on the television to see if it was real. And that's how we view reality. What's real to us is what we see in the media. But if people pay attention to the more simple life that's going on just around us right now, then maybe life isn't so crazy. Maybe change isn't out of hand. So I think it's important for us to take a deep breath now and then and come back to what's right around us right now. What's our reality in this moment? And not be running here and there because all these things are happening on the radio and television.
Dan, given the title of your new book, which is The Four Purposes of Life, can you give us a short description of the four purposes and why these four?
I'd be happy to. The name of the book is The Four Purposes of Life. And here's the thing. Many of us come to a point in our lives where we go, what am I here for? What am I doing here? What am I here to do? Fundamentally, what is my purpose? Now, many people think of that as, a career and calling.
Yes.
And I get into that. That's the second purpose in the book. But people say, why four purposes, Dan? Well, some people rightly say that maybe the real purpose of life is love, learning to love. Whatever the question, love is the answer. Maybe that is an ultimate purpose for humanity. Somebody else might say, well, no, it's about spiritual realization, union with God, someone else might say. I've had a person tell me, no, that's all concepts. He said the actual biological purpose of human beings is to bond with a mate and have children, raise children. That's our biological purpose. Still others say there are as many purposes as there are people. But as we divide the compass, all the points on the compass into 4 primary directions, and the days of the year into 4 seasons, by looking at these 4 fundamental purposes, it lends clarity and structure to the totality of our experience, gives us a kind of map for daily life. And, it's funny. I mean, every author's book, they have to fall in love with the words. People make birth announcements. You've had many authors on, but I really do feel special about this book. It's a small book. You can hold it in your hand. It's 150 pages, very nice little gift hardback style. It's like Hermione, in Harry Potter, her bag, that it's a small bag. You can reach into it, pull out tents and backpacks, and everything is in this bag. People are surprised how much is in this little book.
It seems that, I just like to get back to the media. It seems that people need to be entertained, and this is what the media is turning into, whether it's news, whether it's sports, whether it's the man on the street. It's turning into entertainment. Does this tell us something about the psyche of people in today's society, that they have to be kept entertained? Just like the lady who was watching the tower fall. She went to the TV to see if it was real.
Well, that was her sense of reality.
Wow.
If it's on TV, it must be real. And the idea of being entertained, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be engaged. A good speaker can engage his or her audience. And it's true that you get adapted to things. And the pace is accelerating with Twitter and PDAs and personal phones and people checking email all the time. It's hard for people just to sit quietly and not be distracted. This is a skill we can reawaken. Anyone who's done meditation or gone to the mountains and camped for a while, it's not as if we lose it permanently, but we can adapt to all these fast-paced things. So there's nothing wrong with entertainment or being entertaining. Teachers should be entertaining.
Yeah.
But again, there's a balance there. I think it's about balance. And so I've made my book entertaining. I have stories in it about different stories of career and calling. And if a book's not engaging and interesting to read,
no one's going to buy it.
How educational, nobody's going to want to read it. So
exactly.
I've definitely made a point of that.
I'm just looking at your book, and I want to thank Jill very much for sending me a copy.
Sure.
Talking about the first purpose, learning life's lessons. Now, you suggest the earth is a perfect school and daily life is our classroom. Then what are the courses that we actually need to pass in order to get our diploma from planet Earth?
Well, I would be glad to address that. But first, let me just say that the idea that Earth is a school, nobody's slapping their forehead going, who knew?
Yeah.
Most of us are familiar with it.
Yep.
We learn lessons in daily life, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I use the word perfect school for a very good reason, because what people don't often appreciate is their daily life is going to teach them everything they need to learn in order to grow and evolve as a person. Even if someone doesn't read books, including mine, even if they don't go to seminars, including mine, they will still learn. The reason I write books and teach seminars is because a good book can help us learn more easily, less painfully, the lessons of daily life, because those lessons repeat themselves until we learn them, and if we don't learn the easy lessons, they get harder. Everybody's noticed that. So it's important for people to understand that if we're here to learn even more than succeed and win and achieve, all those things are fine. And finding love, all those things are wonderful. But if we're actually fundamentally most here to learn, if Earth is indeed a school, then even a bad day at work or at the office or in a relationship can be a very good day.
Dan, stand by, friend. You and I have to take a commercial break for our news at the bottom of the hour. Dan Millman is my special guest, X-Zone Nation. He's the author of The 4 Purposes of Life. www.peacefulwarrior.com. And that's the 4 Purposes of Life, finding meaning and direction in a changing world. My name is Rob McConnell. Dan Millman and I return after the news. Don't go away.
Don't need no camera. You stand in the light.
Hi, this is Ken Elliott. When I'm floating around the universe, I always try to tune in to Rob McConnell.
Hi, ho there, Timothy Frog on Sesame Street. When I want to find out what's going on with UFOs or ghosts, I listen to the X Zone with Rob McConnell.
This is Les Corrigan from Target Internet Development. You're listening to Rob McConnell on the X Zone Radio Show.
This is John Hogue, prophecy scholar, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. Dan Millman is my very special guest this hour. He has a brand new book out. It's entitled The Four Purposes of Life, Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World. And in his first book of new teachings in 12 years, Dan Millman faces life's fundamental questions like, why am I here? What am I meant to do? And Dan understands the primary human need for direction and purpose. Here is, here in this straightforward and down-to-earth book, he shares fresh, realistic techniques that anyone can use to find their fourfold life purposes. Now, the four purposes include learning life's lessons, finding your career and calling, discovering your life path, and attending to this arising moment. Writing with special consideration for those in transition or at the crossroads such as graduation, raising a family, health challenges, career upheaval, or impending retirement. Dan simply and beautifully addresses everything from intuition to sexuality, making money to the meaning of service, predestination to paying attention to the present. The result is an extraordinary lucid guide to nothing less than life and how to live it. Once again, X Zone Nation, the name of the book is The Four Purposes of Life, Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World. Dan Millman is the author, and his website is www.peacefulwarrior.com. And Dan, many people really don't look at career upheaval, impending retirement, health challenges as a transition.
Well, right, and sometimes, a midlife crisis can become a mid-course correction. Mm-hmm. But when we went to the break, I was just finishing the idea that even a bad day at work or in a relationship, if we're here to learn, can be a very good day in terms of learning. And you had asked me about the 12 required courses in the School of Life.
Yes.
And I go into that in that first section on learning life's lessons. Areas like discovering our worth, because otherwise we can tend to self-sabotage. This is how to avoid self-sabotage. It's not about self-esteem. That's different from self-worth. It answers a deeper question. We get into how to turn what we know into what we actually do, called reclaiming our will. And that is one of the key areas of life in any field. The third is energizing our body. The fourth, managing our money. So it gets into all practical areas of everyday life. These are the courses we're all enrolled in through our relationships, dealing with business and finance and all that we're doing. So that some of that material, I'm just hinting at what is covered in that first purpose of life we're all sharing, which is learning. We're here to learn. The second, you kind of segued over to career and calling, which is the second fundamental purpose we're all working on. And, it's important, I think, to differentiate, and this is the first book I've seen that does that, between career and calling. And the reason it's important to understand that, I think, Rob, is because many people are given idealistic advice, and they confuse the two. They're told to follow their heart.
Yes.
They're told to do what they love, and the money will follow. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't, at least right away. They're told, I even told my own daughters, do what you love, get someone to pay you for it. Idealistic advice, yes, but that's about our calling. You see, calling doesn't really have necessarily much to do with income. If somebody loves playing the guitar or building model airplanes or doing a sport or a recreational event, or they're called to the military, they're called to the clergy, money isn't the first thing they're thinking about. They feel an internal need. They can't even explain it sometimes, but there's something they love doing. That is what our calling is about, whereas our career is primarily about income. We may love it, we may enjoy the people we work with, but if we weren't making any money doing it, it wouldn't be a career anymore. It would become something else, maybe a hobby. So career, the center part of career is income. Calling is about love of doing something. And it's very important for people stuck in the extremes. You know, I have a friend who has been following his heart for 30 years. He's a Grand Canyon river guide. He's done over 100 trips as a guide down the Grand Canyon. He loves it. And he's made enough to live on, but he's got zero money saved. He's 68 years old and no money saved, but he's just managed to live doing what he loves. But he seems constitutionally unable to find, you know, maybe a career, but he's following his calling. He's following his heart. There are other people.
But is he
who are
happy?
So focused. Huh?
But is he happy?
He is, and because he's followed his heart. But he's broken. There are a lot of starving artists out there who are moderately happy because they're doing what they love, but, you know, they might consider getting a day job as well to stabilize their life. So they don't have to be a starving artist. They can have a stable life to free themselves for their creativity because their rent's paid and they've got enough food and nourishment. There are other people who are focused so much on their career and making money that they've abandoned a calling. They've abandoned doing what they love because they say, oh, well, that I can't, you know, that's not serious.
Yeah.
And maybe their life would benefit from taking up their calling in their spare time. People like you and I, maybe, our career and calling are the same thing. But there are other people who do a functional job doing work that's okay for them, and they find their calling in their discretionary time. There's no one way to do it. That's why I tell stories in the book about very colorful people who've found their career and calling in different ways.
You know, when you talk about a calling in a job or in life, a lot of people look at it through the eyes of a religious calling. And not very many people, Dan, until you bring it up, are going to realize that there are other types of callings in life. You can get a calling to continue your education. You can receive a calling to change jobs. And I think what you're doing here is very important. You're opening up a lot of possibilities to people who felt trapped one way or another.
Exactly. And just to understand, is this my career? Is it my calling? If it's a career, you don't have to love it all the time, but it has to feel suitable and certainly moderately enjoyable. In fact, I give criteria in the book on the three things are we need to be able to make what feels like decent money to us, whatever that is, our circumstances and needs. A job has to also satisfy that it feels suitable to us. It's appropriate. It fits our talents. And also the work has to be of service to others. If it's not, that's not going to work for long either. I know only two people who do work that makes good money, that they enjoy doing, but serves nobody. One is a criminal, the other is a poker player. Maybe I've made too fine a distinction between the two. But
is there a difference?
Well, you know, and the fellow who's a poker player said, you know, sometimes I think I'm missing something in life. Yes, he is, because he doesn't go to sleep knowing he's done some good for somebody else.
Exactly.
So all those things. So I get into service and the importance. Those who've discovered the joy of service, when they know they've done something for somebody else before they went to sleep that night, that is really the secret to a sense of fulfillment that no amount of pleasuring and entertainment and distraction can do. So I go into service and the importance of it in the book as well. And again, offering these reminders. So those are just small parts. I mean, I get into self-knowledge, how important that is for us to know ourselves. Otherwise, we can pick the right job or the right spouse for the wrong person, the one we thought we were.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more about satisfaction of a job. Doing this job for 20 years, my goal each and every show is to make a positive change for someone, to touch someone in a very special way, that they gain something from the show that helps them to improve their life or to help someone they know. And it makes me feel good. It gives me pride.
That's why this job is your career and calling. It is. And see, that's what I try to do, is to remind people. That's why it's called finding meaning and direction, to provide more meaning, to remind people the value of their daily life experience and learning, the value of the work they do, no matter how humble it may be. I talk about leadership. I go into what leadership involves, and lots of books on leadership for corporate people, but I have a take that hasn't been written about before. For example, I point out how whether we're in the top corner office or working in the mailroom, we can show absolute qualities of leadership. And I go into what those qualities are, how anyone can become a leader with their family, among peers, by being, first of all, an example to others, by living that. And so I go into entry level to leadership, some original stuff. I don't like writing what's been written before. I mean, I like to provide some really kind of original ideas and reminders. So that's what I continue to do in my work, and I'm just, as you can tell, I'm pretty excited about the new book.
I can also see that you're very passionate about what you write about, and the message that you got that you just want to share with people.
That's always been the impulse. When I was a young man, I was very much into self-improvement. I took memory courses and speed reading, and I was a gymnast and athlete. And one day I realized no matter how much I improved myself, only one person benefited. But if I could influence other people in a positive way, that made my life more meaningful. And many of your listeners probably feel that way too. So I started teaching, and I had to learn something about the craft of writing and speaking in order to do that.
Dan Millman is our guest this hour, Exonation. He's the author of The 4 Purposes of Life, Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World, www.peacefulwarrior.com. And this is the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, coming to you on the Talkstar Radio Network. Dan, the third purpose seems to be the most mysterious, based on a number system and one's date of birth. Now, where did you come up with this as a third purpose of life? Is this something to do with numerology, astrology, or what exactly?
Well, yes, actually it does. Now, I'm not a numerologist, but it does work with the date of birth. In fact, I invite your listeners. You mentioned you were kind enough to mention my website. There are a number of things on there. People can join our email list, or they can click on the book cover. But if they go to purposefulwarrior.com, and click on Life Purpose. There's a big link there that says Life Purpose. They will go to the Life Purpose Calculator. And immediately they can get access just by putting in their date of birth. And it's, many people think it's a parlor game and amusement, but this can hit them over the head. It's very accurate. I'll go into that in a moment why, but the point is they'll see their birth number, and they will see immediately a teaser, a little appetizer, a short paragraph with some key elements that address their life that may be very different from some other people they know or live with. So that will give them immediate access to their birth number. In fact, in the book, I refer people back to the website, then return to the book, so they can see what these numbers actually mean. And yes, it is more mysterious. It's provocative because I can't give a scientific explanation for how the system works. But I went for a walk with a doctor friend just the other day, and he said doctors don't know exactly how aspirin works. They know it works. It has benefits, but they don't know the mechanisms yet. It's the same is true for this system. And if the mind's like a parachute. It works best when it's open. If people check it out, look at the numbers, look at it, the third purpose in the book. If they want to get more detail, well, I have another book that's sold over 1 million copies because it, again, is so accurate. It's called The Life You Were Born to Live. That's another book that goes into much more detail. But in this third purpose, it's finally in its proper context. The third purpose of life, our life path or hidden calling, is different from our career or regular calling. It gives us, it reveals, drives, hurdles we're here to overcome, and strengths and gifts we have that we may not have fully appreciated. It kind of snaps our life into focus in a different way. So that is the third purpose in the 4 purposes of life, finding our life path or our hidden calling, and how specifically to do that, it's revealed right there.
I just went to that link and I put in my date of birth, and I'm 30/3, 3 expression, 0 inner gifts, 3 expression. And it says, those on the 30/3 life path are here to work through issues of expression and sensitivity, overcoming self-doubt to express themselves and use their inner gifts to encourage, uplift, and inspire others. Most people come into life to work a mixture of energies, but for 30/3s, their work and destiny are clear and focused. Those working 30/3 have the support of inner gifts, which have highly in-tuned sensitivity, inner strengths, expressiveness, and intuition. All of these resources complement and support one major life theme, emotional expression. Wow.
Boy, and look what you're in, a radio talk show host. I mean, is that about expression or what? And getting people to feel something. And you know about the self-doubt.
Yes.
You know about that part. Everybody's had self-doubt at times. But it's a particular pointed issue. It's a hurdle you're here to overcome and leap past. And yes, that intuition part you know about too. You know, if you said, Dan, I have a feeling about this, I would listen because you have some gifts in that area.
Dan, always great talking to you. Please stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. And Exo Nation, once again, Dan Millman is our special guest. The name of his book is The Four Purposes of Life, Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World, www.peacefulwarrior.com. And do like I did, Exo Nation. I clicked on that link and, life purpose. And I'll tell you, type in your year of birth, bring down the little, what's it called? The little thing that has your scroll, and then your date of birth, and it's that simple. And as you heard, I read it on air, so I'm not making this up. It has value. Once again, www.peacefulwarrior.com. Dan Millman and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away. We're going to give you something to talk about, Exo Nation. All you have to do is go to www.peacefulwarrior.com. That's Dan Millman's website. He's the author of the book that we've been talking about this hour, The Four Purposes of Life, Finding Meaning and Direction in a Changing World. First of all, Dan, always great talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us again tonight. What would you like to leave the Exo Nation with this evening?
Well, before we do that, I got to tell you, I love your lead-in music. I don't know if it's you or your producer or engineer, but it's some great soulful music. So, now what I would like to leave with, let me just mention in brief the fourth purpose of life, which may be the most important one of all, and I articulate it. I have to say, I've worked really hard to articulate it in a way that hasn't been expressed before. The fourth purpose of life is attending to this arising moment. In other words, it's the purpose that appears in the moment. We may not know our cosmic purpose in lifetimes from now, but we do know what we're doing right now. And by focusing on that, it integrates all the other purposes. So I go into that, which is a segue into the epilogue, which is about our spiritual purpose, and very practical guide, whether somebody's a college student, whether they're in between jobs, retiring and wondering what they're going to do now with their time in a meaningful way. So I think it's important for people to understand the value of not only their life experience, but the work they do in the world, and that we're always on purpose. Lily Tomlin once said, I always wanted to be somebody. Maybe I should have been more specific. And so this book helps people to bring their life into focus, and I think it's going to do a lot of good. That's obviously why I wrote it.
Now, do you go out on the speaking tours? Is there a place where you're going to be in the next couple of months where listeners may be able to catch you doing one of the many presentations that you do?
Yes, I'm leaving for Denver today, Boulder and Denver, and then Massachusetts area and New York. Actually, I'm at peacefulwarrior.com. There's my event page, so people can just click on that and see where I'm going to be when.
And it's that simple.
Yep.
When's the next book coming out, Dan?
Oh, the next one, who knows? This is like my, it's an analogy well used. It's like my new baby, so I'm putting out the birth announcements and focusing on letting people know about the 4 purposes of life. Probably it'll be a number of months before I even think about it. I do have a kind of a twinkle in my eye. I have an idea of a pretty radical book, but right now I'm just focusing on the 4 purposes.
Dan, time's up for tonight. I wish you continued success. And you know what, pal? I can't wait till the next time you join us back here in the X Zone. It's been a delight having you with us, and this hour has just flown right by.
It has. Same here, Rob. Thanks very much for having me.
Take care of yourself, Dan, and congratulations once again. And I'd also like to thank Jill at Circle 3 Media for helping make this interview possible. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. The X Zone is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. on the Talkstar Radio Network. Speaking about Talkstar, big things are happening. I was talking to Ed Shiflett a couple of weeks ago. Important news breaking in the very near future. And as soon as I'm given the green light to talk about it, you, the members of the X Zone Nation, will be the first to know. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Whatever you do, don't go away. We'll be right back.